We talked about a 3-year patent, one about 1 week. We talked about 3% budget efficiency, and others talked about getting 20% or 40%. So generally, the burning platform, the crisis, the mandate for change, that's a critical part of making this happen. So, not to repeat all the things that were said earlier, but I would say that we kind of ended up on 3 or 4 points. One, the need for a really bold, inspirational vision, driven, and I think we saw it today with our president in terms of getting a commitment to having the most efficient, effective government in the world, defining the problem, going out and bringing in the right tools from wherever we need to get them to help execute this. But we need to be able to do it in a government enterprise management system that's effective to go execute. And then really get started. And then with that, what is the governance process to help this over a 1-year period, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And so it was really, in our mind, more of getting at the organizational accountability and deployment, because we think the tools are available today to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's transition to transforming the customer experience. Tony Miller, who's the DepSec at the Department of Education. Tony.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, like I think all that we've heard from a very engaging discussion, I think it started with clear consensus, which was it's all about the customer. That's how it started. And I think it was a recognition that while government clearly has many unique characteristics, that the reality was that some of the first principles and some of the lessons learned are applicable nonetheless. And so that was kind of the key takeaway. So not to dwell on that, let me turn it over to Angie Hicks from Angie's List.
Thank you. So when we talked in our group, it was all about the culture of customer service, and that is a culture that is in a company, it's in a department. It's not just something that's stated on the wall for people to see when they walk by. And you need to know your customers. It's not just not just the citizens that are out there engaging with your department. Some of the people in your department are customers to your department. So everybody has to be thinking about customer service in their job. It's not just those that are outward facing. And then culture is critical. And it can't just be stated. It has to be incorporated in everything you do. And you've got to set goals, and you need to measure against them. And it has to be led by example. It can't be a department head that says we need to think about customer service. They need to be thinking about customer service. And there were unique ways that our group talked about it. One person in our group, he takes calls from customers. If customers call and ask for him, he'll take the call. And it's a great way for him to see things and uncover things in his organization that might need to be improved. Also, reading blogs. I mean, the great thing about technology today, you can be out there reading a lot about your organization or your department just way easier than we could 10 years ago. And then collecting customer feedback. So we need to have tools in place that we can collect customer feedback and do something with it and make it transparent. It shouldn't just be held over here and we look, oh, we're 90%, that's great. But unearthing problems, because those are opportunities, because I think sometimes the best customer service is shown in a problem area, not necessarily when you did things right the first time. And then also be transparent about that customer service information. Share it internally. We talked a lot about creating incentives for employees, whether it be the praise or ways of ranking and kind of how we're improving and reaching our customer service goals. And then benchmarking. We talked about, the government's a monopoly. We don't have competitors to benchmark against when it comes to customer service, but we certainly have other departments. There's no reason that the Department of Education can't benchmark against the Department of Agriculture on how they're doing when it comes to customer service. And then thinking about ways to incorporate technology. And we agreed, as did Andrea, that technology is a tool for helping us think about the customer. Thank you.
Thank you. Second group on transforming the customer experience, David Hayes, who's the Deputy Secretary at the Department of Interior. David?
Thank you, Jeff. We had a terrific discussion. The most important thing I'm going to take home to my dinner table is I've got some cred now with my teenagers because I had the founders of Facebook and Craigslist in our group. So thank you for that. I hope all of you have a little something to share with your families from today's experience. We had a terrific discussion. I want to get right to Gary Kelly, the CEO of Southwest Airlines, who's going to give the results of our discussion.
Thank you, David. Thank you all. We're also going to start with the culture of customer service. Just having that established, we agreed was at the top of our list. And I won't repeat everything that you said, but we completely agree with that approach. We felt like it started with employees, hiring the right employees, giving them the proper support, making sure that we listen to them and help them obviously meet their needs, and then collect a tremendous amount of feedback from all sources from customers as to what their needs are. As a component of having a real commitment to a culture of customer service, we discussed the need to have a strategy that would then include the need to consider transformation in terms of processes, and then also have a way to embed technological change in that strategy and not have them disconnected. The second point that we talked about was just the opportunity for government to embrace self-service in the way that the private sector has. I think there is a tremendous opportunity. We thought there was a tremendous opportunity in that regard. I think to make that successful, that suggests that, once again, there needs to be a very clear strategy. We need to do as best we can to take the hassle factor out of dealing with the government, simplify things, but that would be a tremendous productivity and customer service enhancement if we could pull that off.
Thank you. Last group is on maximizing the return on investment on technology, led by Jack Liu, who's the Deputy Secretary of the Department of State. Jack?
Thanks, Jeff. Our group, I think, had an extraordinary amount of engagement, and much as Scott was thanking the group that he was with for their commitment and citizenship, I was very struck by the respect for the complexity of government and the goodwill of the people, both at the top and in our agencies, to try and do the right thing. Having been in the government business for a long time, it's not always you sit around a table with people who start out with the notion that they're good people trying to do the right thing. And I appreciated that. What I was struck by, and what I think will very much go back with me to the State Department, was the almost uniform advice that we were given to not think about the core, that it's just too big to take on the whole thing, that we have to think about breaking it down into things that we can get done and where we can get victories out there. I think many of us are driven to try to do more, and it may be that what we have to think about is what can we actually get done, which I thought was a very important lesson to take back. I'm delighted to call on Dan Fulton, who will report back in detail on our group. And
thanks. You've already done half the report for me. I was selected to make the presentation because I'm the least tech-savvy member of our group. We had some really high-powered professionals in the group. Just a real quick summary of our conclusions. Number one, in engaging in a project, start with a clear purpose that is absolutely aligned with the needs of the end user. Second, that strategy is the key to all of this, and IT is simply a tool of executing that strategy. Third, as Jack mentioned, there was a surprising consensus around breaking big projects into smaller, bite-sized chunks. And a lot of coalescence around 18 months, surprisingly, which was the number of months that my chief investment officer or chief technology officer suggested to me in thinking about this meeting. But we heard that around the table, 18 months, so you can take on a project, get through it, make it bite-sized, learn your lessons, and celebrate success. That was another, common theme. Celebrate some smaller successes, build some momentum. The other idea about breaking them down into 18-month chunks is that you can get alignment of ownership of the project for that period of time without concern about turnover of leadership.